So question 1, I'm looking for the general controls because they outsource the storage of their data. And so we said there, the general controls were system development and program change. That's not going to be very applicable here because it's not a system that is used to record their accounting records. It's all about just this cloud storage space. So access controls is going to be huge. I know that they have to be physical and there's going to have to be logical. And I know logical are my username and passwords. And I know that as soon as I have username and passwords, I've got those 2 additional controls to discuss. The inactivity and incorrect attempts. Continuity of operation. How can they ensure that they are able to continue with the data stored in the cloud? So how can they protect that data? That's going to be very important here, because continuity says they need to be antivirus, which this third party is going to have backups and at least 3 generations, so their data is not lost. Okay, guys, and then I've said you outsource advanced computer information systems. So there were a whole bunch of controls that had to be included if they did have this outsourcing agreement. So guys, I'm just going to quickly take you to where we've done general controls and then where we did advanced computer information systems as well as outsourcing, because this really is a theory question. And all I need to do is make sure that I address and list all the possible general controls that they should have to keep the data safe. Guys, week 7 we did general controls, and there you can see they need to have, for continuity of operation, antivirus, backup of data, that disaster recovery plan. Okay, because it is in the cloud, none of those really become applicable. But then they have to have those access controls, usernames and passwords to gain access, and then those 2 additional. And then user manuals or trained staff. Now I want to take you to that advanced computer information system. Just a few slides later, you'll see there, once again, those access controls. They could have a dial-back system, encryption of data, firewalls. All of these are going to restrict access. And that's exactly what they need to ensure that they keep the data safe. Backup, antivirus, logs. So all of these guys need to be discussed. And then, specifically if there's reliance on a service bureau, so they outsource. We've already mentioned access controls, but agreements and confidentiality clauses in those agreements. Backup and antivirus we've already noted. Strong general controls, so we can add that. The staff must be trained at this service bureau. Okay, and if there are time requirements, they need to have then penalties with regards to meeting those deadlines. Okay, so guys, all of these can literally just be listed as the controls that need to be implemented because they are outsourcing their storage of their data to a third party. So guys, I'm going to start by addressing the controls that need to be in place because they have outsourced. Okay, because that's the biggest risk here. So I'm going to say, general control, there needs to be an agreement with the service provider who is storing their data in the cloud. So that's the first point. And the agreement needs to address the following. The responsibilities of each party, confidentiality clauses, the controls required, for the security of data. I can now go and elaborate on what those controls should be. So I can say the service provider is required to have strong general controls over the storage of data. So what do I mean? They need to have access controls in the form of physical to the server or the cloud, and then logical in the form of username and passwords, and then if I've got username and passwords, I need to say there needs to be a timeout facility for inactivity once logged in, and log off or out if incorrect passwords have been attempted. And I can say maybe 3 is the requirement. And then guys, as soon as I discuss passwords, just like we always discuss this timeout and the shutdown facility, as you're writing down access controls and passwords, do some password specific controls. So you can say the following password specific controls. And your own examples. So there should be a minimum length, not easily guessed. They shouldn't be visible. So you shouldn't have the password on your screen. This is going to be for staff of the company. Another example, that if staff leave, their password should be deactivated. Okay, so just some examples of my access controls there. Then we said data should be encrypted so that it can't be hacked. They should have firewalls because they are on the internet or in the cloud. So they need to have additional security to protect it from being hacked. Antivirus, so that a virus can't just come and interact and affect the data that has been stored. Backup, three generations. You should have log of access, and then exception reports of unauthorized access. So I started with dealing with the service provider, the service bureau, the outsourcing, the responsibilities there. And then I moved into more the access controls around the data and protection of the data. Okay. You might now at this point, if you've got time, want to go back into the scenario just to see if there's anything else that you might want to add. But if you don't have enough time, you have got sufficient marks. You can move on. Okay, so I'm just going to go back into the scenario just to see where they discuss this to trigger anything additional. So I come into the scenario. I'm looking for where I noted that there was this outsourcing of the data. And guys, it is all the way at the end after reading and understanding their revenue system. Here we've got outsource management of the storage of their financial data. And so in this paragraph, I see that they say they store all their financial records, including the master files, and they discuss the different master files: customer, supplier, staff, assets, and liability in this cloud-based platform. So thinking about amending master files, thinking about the risk with regards to standing data, access controls is huge. So if you didn't think about it initially, these are the kind of triggers that should get you discussing the access controls and the passwords. They also note here that the service provider has the appropriate technical skills, so that's something you want to make sure that they do have in the service agreement, and ensuring that they are continuously trained. Okay, so guys, I think that was something we left out. I'm going to add that and then we can move on. And I'm going to put that under the agreement. It needs to address that the staff and or just the actual company have the technical skills and will be trained on how to maintain and ensure that the data is not affected or accessed or lost. Alright, let's move on to question 2.